Alexa, turn on Basement Desk 1.
Okay.
It's not very pretty, but there have been a lot of changes since I've last done this video. But we'll get to those in a minute. My camera is running on battery now, and I'd like to have it plugged in. But let's just do a quick pan. There we go. Welcome to what is now BITeC Systems. This is your latest system overview. Today's date is July 17th, 2017, and I'd like to show you what we have so far. The rumors are true. I've gotten rid of Windows 10. And before you guys jump at me like, why'd you do that? The main thing I want to say is that Windows 10, while it is a great operating system, you must, and I mean must, have the proper hardware in order to run it. My Acer Veriton, for example, does not have the proper hardware to run Windows 10. It is sluggish, it is slow, it is generally unresponsive, and that's just a few of what happen, the qualities that happen. My Fujitsu Lifebook with the Wacom touchscreen comes with 7, but it cannot run 10 very well. It will install and run 10, but it will not perform smoothly whatsoever. Same with this Acer, like I said, it comes with Windows Vista. But I've chosen a happy medium, which, you know, suits me well for my everyday needs. Windows 8.1. Did you guys just see that? 1, 2, 3, 4 screens. Allow me to show you guys that. We're going to get up close here. Four screens. You notice one mini tower like that, mini desktop PC. If you want to weed through the rat's nest of wires, you'll see I've got a DVI cable right here, the white one. That goes to this screen right here. Okay, normal. I've got a VGA cord right here going to this screen. But there's only 2 video outputs on this computer, so what do? Well, introducing the HP USB 3.0 USB graphics adapter. I just said USB twice. I don't know what I'm thinking. But HP USB 3.0 graphics adapter. USB 3.0, like I just said, to a DVI port, which I have done me down to a VGA. I have one for this screen and one for that screen. So yes, I have a giant extended desktop. What do I use it for? Lots of space. So I like having lots of space, especially on my main system. I'll do the rest of this tour before I put it back on the tripod. This Toshiba A55S106. It came shipped with 512 megabytes of RAM and Windows XP Home Edition. Right now, it will run 8.1, but it sucks, so it runs 7 Enterprise. And I'll get into that later. The Toshiba A75S229 that always had the cutoff problem. Well, it turns out I took that apart and found the fan was clogged with dust, causing it to overheat and shut down. It also runs Windows 7 Enterprise. You try and put Windows 8.1, it will not boot. It spits it out. And my Dell Optiplex GX280, which came with Windows XP Professional, and it has an Intel Pentium 4 in it. It is actually Windows 10 capable, since I put it in, but I have Windows 7 on it, for a good reason. Even though this machine does actually run Windows 10 well, with the upgraded from 512 megabytes to 3.5 gigabytes of RAM, the Blu-ray drive in the top, and the DVD recorder underneath that, and it runs 10 fine, but I like having 7 because that machine is hooked to my TV. And you notice I have a pattern here. The machines that are hooked to TVs for entertainment purposes all have Windows 7. And the only machines that have Windows 7 would be this laptop, which sucks on 8.1, and this laptop, which can't go above 7. My eMacs are in the corner. They both still work, to my knowledge. I have not plugged them in recently, but they were in a working condition when I put them in storage like that. And you notice I've gotten some changes to the audio shelf as well. You guys may have seen this in other videos, but my Radio Shack fully automatic turntable, all it needs is a new needle, because the needle finally broke. But I also have the Sony. I got rid of the Optimus. I got the Sony TCWE475 cassette recorder, and it is digital. I gotta run with the Beat cassette in there. I hope I don't have copyright on this, but anyway, I'll be playing samples of that later. And it also records there as well. Dubs, does everything. My same old 5.1 by Jammo, although you notice the subwoofer's missing. I'll get to that in a second. I've kind of organized this differently. I've got the audio stuff here and all the video stuff here. My same old Zenith VCR and the Presidian, which is a subsidiary of Radio Shack, DVD recorder. Yes, DVD recorder. And I do have a copy of The Sound of Music in there on VHS. I don't intend on playing that, but I have it there. Now if you notice down on the next shelf, it's much cleaner because that's where the VCR and DVD recorder used to be. Used to have all the audio stuff up here and the video stuff down here. I didn't like that layout. So what I ended up doing, I moved, like I said, the audio stuff here and the video stuff over there. That is a wired keyboard and mouse for this Dell. Now, down here you realize I have the Amazon Echo Dot. Alexa, how are you doing today?
I'm great, I hope you are too.
Yeah. She's a little shaky. We just had an internet outage last night at 3 a.m. So I was up fixing that. Underneath that we have an Amazon Fire TV with Alexa voice search. And over here, I'll get to this in a second, this stuff here, we have a Sirius Stratus 6 satellite radio receiver. It's designed to be put in a car, but I've adapted that because I've got a converter right there for car socket power, and I've run the antenna up. You can't see it, but it goes up to my back deck. And underneath that we have an Apple TV 3rd generation, which just sits right here. And if you guys notice this control right here, I rarely move it down from all the way to 100, but all it does is it controls the power to the rear speakers there and there. I don't know why I put that in. I just put it in for the heck of it. Okay, so that's basically the audio video system tour. We've still got the Insignia 32-inch TV here, and you know, everything still works great. Now onto this middle section right here, which I told you I'd get back to. This stereo, I really like the older stereos where they have tons of inputs. This stereo has a TV input and an auxiliary input, and then besides that it's got a coaxial audio, optical audio. But the main inputs I use is TV and auxiliary, I can't pronounce that right, AUX, fine. So the TV input naturally comes right from the TV, but you know, I've got more than one auxiliary audio device. So how do I do that? So the auxiliary input on this comes directly from the main output of this box, and what this is an editing switch. It can support video as well, but I choose to not use it for video. So the output A goes right to the AUX input on the stereo, which makes sense. There's also a second output that is activated. Let me put some light on here for you. The second output is activated when you press on the edit switch like that, and that leads to the record input on the cassette deck. So that way I can turn on or turn off the recording. Input A, which is pressed down, comes from the cassette deck's play output. Input B comes from the turntable. And input C comes from the switch box over here, which has 4 inputs and 1 output. The first being from the satellite radio. That's a good song right there. I'll look it up on YouTube later. The second comes from a split off of the echo dot, because you heard the echo dot coming on these computer speakers here, so that way I can always hear what it says. But I also have it set so that way I can have it, the echo dot music, be on the big stereo system. So that's what that second input is for. The third input actually comes from an auxiliary wire, which I currently have plugged into this iPhone 6, but it can plug into anything that has a headphone jack on it. I just have that mounted down there just because there's music on that I want to use somewhere else. And the fourth input is, interestingly enough, comes from the audio output of the stereo, because what I like to do is sometimes I want to be able to output what's on the stereo, like say a CD or a DVD audio, and have it go to a cassette. So the audio out goes through here, and when this is in audio out, what happens is it's not going to be on AUX at the same time. I mean, it could be, but that would create ridiculous amounts of feedback. So I would mostly use that if I'm copying from the CD player to a tape. And that is how I would set that up. I'd put that on audio out, put that on C, record here, and play here. And that is basically the audio video setup down here, except for one very important thing that I almost forgot. Yes, up here on the wall is a BITeC Harmony Home Hub. And this is an amazing device. It connects to the Wi-Fi network to control Wi-Fi based devices. It has Bluetooth in it to control Bluetooth based devices, although I don't really use that very effectively all the way it could be. And it also has infrared. So what I use that for is that sits above my head behind me, and it can control everything in this stack because it memorizes 8 devices. So everything except for the satellite radio, because I don't really listen to much channels except for the one that's on right now, and so I just leave it that way. And if I actually want to change the satellite radio channel, I'll get up and change it. But it can control the VCR, the DVD recorder, the tape deck. Yes, it can control that. It can control the stereo, the TV. It could control the PC, except I don't have it set up like that. It can control the Fire TV and the Apple TV. And I'll be demonstrating that later. And it also hooks in with the Amazon Echo, so I can use my voice to turn on the TV. And I don't do that the traditional way. I use a service called Yonomi, because I have 2 Harmony hubs. And that's the problem with Amazon Echoes and the Logitech environment. If you have more than one Harmony hub, you've got to associate the Echo with one of those hubs and not with both of them, which is annoying. So I've got an Echo upstairs and I've got the Echo Dot down here. I've got Harmony hubs in both locations. So we'll be right back when I move on to the networking of this area. And we're back. And as you can see, the screen went to sleep, but that's alright. Now I want to show you this right here, which I got this screen and what's underneath the desk there. I don't know if you can tell, but that is a Power Mac G5. I've been wanting those for a very long time, but they've been so expensive. So actually, when Brown Mackie College closed, they gave me that machine, which it is a Power Mac G5, which means it has a PowerPC G5 processor in it, and it can run no higher than Mac OS Leopard, which is fine by me. Most of the other students that got computers wanted Mac Pros. I wanted that Power Mac G5, and I'll get into why I wanted that soon. But it came with that cinema display and the keyboard and mouse. I really love that machine. And one of the things I've done to it is, besides the original 1 GB of RAM, I pulled that out and I put in 5 GB of RAM, so it's much faster. The original 256 GB hard drive is gone, and I replaced it with a RAID array of 2 512 GB hard drives to give me just, well, I'm not sure. Actually, it's 2 640 gig hard drives to give me just over 1 terabyte of storage on this tower alone, which is great. Also, another upgrade I made to the Dell, I also put in, come on, focus for me. I also put in 1 terabyte hard drive in that, which is really nice, because it allows me to store a lot of stuff. I wish I had another terabyte hard drive to put into this, but I don't have that, which is fine because, you know, this has like 320 gigs, which is enough for what I do. Now, The machine that's been treated the worst out of all, my 2011 MacBook Pro. The hard drive has failed numerous times, and I no longer have another hard drive to replace it with. So what I do is I went on Amazon and I bought a SATA to SD card adapter. And it says you can boot your computer off of that, off of an SD card, as long as you put it in that way. So I went ahead and bought it, and I bought a tiny little 32 gigabyte SD card, which now that I look back on it, I should have bought like a 128 gigabyte SD card, or even a 256 gigabyte SD card, because I would much rather have had more space on this thing. But it runs, and that's the good thing. It does run. And in the future, I probably will buy a 256 gigabyte SD card to put in there, and I'll probably reinstall macOS 10.8, because I do use Mountain Lion on this, because in the networking environment, for me, I believe no higher than Mountain Lion for Mac, and no lower than Leopard for Mac. You run into all sorts of problems. With Tiger on Mac, I can't log you in because your user home folder is on a network volume bull crap. And with Mavericks, I mean, you know, I just have a problem with the modern operating systems when it comes to this networking environment. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Sierra, and I can't wait for High Sierra to come out from my 2013 MacBook Pro, which is upstairs sleeping. But never will any of these machines have anything to do with newer systems, or older systems for that matter of fact. The three versions of macOS 10 we use here are Leopard, Lion, and Mountain Lion. And actually I would approve Snow Leopard, but I don't have a machine that runs Snow Leopard that can't run anything newer. That cannot run Snow Leopard, but my iMac Intel 2007, which desperately needs to be fixed because it had a catastrophic failure and does not even power on. It's sitting upstairs in the hallway, and that needs to be fixed. But that I would probably put Snow Leopard back on, even though I did at one point have all the way up to El Capitan on it on 2 gigs of RAM. Yes, it was very scary, but it did run. Now if you look down here, I have an iMac G5, which is again in desperate need of a new power supply. I bought it a while ago. The power supply lasted good till we had several power surges here. Shot the hell out of the power supply. Then I bought another power supply off eBay, which is the biggest mistake of my life, because not within just a month of using it, the power supply went bad again. So, never buying a power supply off eBay again, whatsoever. And the guy ripped me off 70 bucks for it, and his account is now gone. So, anyway, lesson learned. You see, we still have the HP OfficeJet Pro 8600 Premium, and if you look at the desk, you see we've got the Astra. Come on, focus please. There's an autofocus button here, isn't there? Yes, there is. There we go. The Astra 6755i IP phone. The Panasonic KX. Is it a 4.5 or a 5.4? Let me have a look. See. I can never remember. It's written KXTG4500. That's a 4-line PSTN phone. And if you pan all the way over here to the left, you see we got the BITeC handset. And I use all this for various reasons. Now you see we've got right there, oh come on, move the chair out of the way, you'll see it. We've got the I can't read what it says on it. I think it's a Southwestern Bell. It's a caller ID phone. Back when those were brand new, I got that because it has caller ID on the screen right there, and it only takes 3 AA batteries to run. I like that right there a lot. Now you notice we have a lot of equipment here, but mostly everything you're going to see under the desk, minus that flashlight and the G5 and the phone sitting on top of the G5, doesn't run. So that phone sitting on top of the G5 actually has a point to being there, even though it's on complete silence, and I'll show you that later. Because we have our own PBX server here. And before we get to servers, allow me to show you the master server. I'll be right back. That's 2.
Okay.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a 2009 Mac Pro. And yes, 2009, it's a great machine. It's the year Snow Leopard came out. It's the year Windows 7 came out. But you know what? That is a great machine. And that is a kitty cat. Pointless. This machine, you notice it runs headless. There's no monitor. I do have a keyboard there for emergency purposes, and my old Optimus tape deck is sitting right there. Both the belts are gone. That's why I got rid of it. However, this does not run Mac or Windows. What it runs is a version of, it's kind of Linux, but it's a system made by VMware called ESXi, where it basically lets you just host virtual machines. And yes, I've got 13 virtual machines running on this because I took the original 6 gigabytes of RAM, and I swapped it for 32 gigabytes of RAM. That didn't work because it doesn't like to have 32. There's something wrong with it. So I put in 24 gigabytes of RAM, and it runs great. It's got tons of storage. There's 4 hard drive bays, and I've got at least over a terabyte of storage in there. Now if we move around here, nice and easy, there are 2 optical drives in there. They're both the Apple optical drives, and I use them when I'm installing a system or when I'm trying to install software that I don't have available on the network. Now over here, ooh, I'm too wide to fit through here. Okay, look out. Over here, this is the desk number 2. And you see I've got a BITeC handset and a Panasonic handset there. I'll go into more detail about that now. Anything that's a BITeC handset like that is going to be on the basement desk phone line. Anything that's the Panasonic handset like that, it does not pair to the 4500, but it pairs to the base that's on top of the G5. That's going to be part of the upstairs desk. And I'll show you because I will use ground wire, which is an app on my iPhone I use for PBX access. Well, I'm really close. And I will dial the basement desk line, which is 3201. You see it's calling from 4700. And now I can hang that up. I don't know if you noticed the yellow light flashing on top of the Panasonic phone. That means there's a voicemail waiting there. I'll check that later. On 3301 there's a voicemail waiting. But we're going to do this. We'll call the upstairs desk. And it actually does ring there because I like to monitor everything right there. But this is the only place you'll hear it ring in the basement. So we'll dial 3301. And if we were upstairs, you'd see that ringing there. I can't get it to focus on that bright white screen, but it says basically the same thing. I'm trying to get it to focus. It won't focus now. Anyway, I'll go ahead and hang that up. However, you notice these lights here? I don't know if you can tell, but right there, next to the speaker, there's a Wemo switch hooked to the Wi-Fi that I told Alexa to turn them on. Let's spin around here. I know you can barely see that. Let me shine my phone's flashlight on that there. We have the Canon IP2702 printer. I've got photo ink in there and photo paper in there. Not the real thick glossy photo paper, but like the color copy paper. So I print more detailed stuff on that printer. Also, I've got instructions for how to open the optical drives on the hypervisor machine, which is what I call this, using Terminal, SSH, or PuTTY on Windows, because it's almost impossible for me to truly remember how to open them without looking at the code. On top of there, we have a Apple Airport Extreme base station, and this is where the Wi-Fi comes from. In fact, this does not hand out IP addresses, which is odd. I have it set up in a completely weird way. But it does have a USB port on it, which does connect to the Canon printer. And that's how I have that shared on the network. So we're going to go ahead and cut the flashlight off there. And we will be back over on the other side momentarily. I need to see how to stop this thing. Fader. Stop. And we're back. So, without further ado, why don't we show what a typical desktop environment looks like here. I don't know how well you can see me. Let me turn the screen around so I can see what I'm doing here. There, I'll move over that way. And I'll bring the camera closer as soon as I log in. So, typical logins: last name, first initial, and it goes to the verbose login because I like to see all the steps it does. Preparing Windows. There we go. This background is hard-coded. And notice we have several programs on here that may not have been on here last time you saw the overview. The entire Adobe CS6 Master Collection is on here, as well as Microsoft Office 2013, as well as now we actually have Google Chrome on here for a very specific reason, and I'll get to that later. But VNC Viewer has been there. Puriform's Defraggler and CCleaner really help out a lot. Big shout out to them. I love Windows 8.1, and I love it a lot more because of those two programs. I can have the start menu or start screen on any of the screens. You can't see the fourth display because it's off camera, but I'll pan that over in a second. Anyhow, let me open up VMware Workstation, which sometimes this takes a minute to open, so I'll talk for a minute. The reason I put VMware Workstation on all the compatible computers is because it allows you to connect in the Connect to Server menu. You can actually connect to a ESXi hypervisor, which the ESXi software is free. Don't get me wrong on that, it is free. Mostly everything I try and do here is free. I try and keep the cost to a minimum. So, I have the ESXi software running on an Apple CPU for a very specific reason. Because if you have ESXi running on a Windows CPU, what happens is that you cannot emulate Apple virtual machines. Running on a Apple CPU, you can emulate Apple and Microsoft virtual machines, which is nice. But if you emulate it on a Windows CPU, you can only emulate Microsoft and a Linux based. You can do all three with the Apple. I'm not going to say that again. But VMware Workstation does take quite a bit of time to open. So if I was in a hurry, I wouldn't have done it through that. I would have gone into, and not Google Chrome, because the ESXi does not like Google Chrome. So I would actually open up Firefox. Oh, here's VMware Workstation. Okay. And it's not responding. So let's drag that out of the way over there. So Firefox should be coming up soon. Huh. Let's see. Yeah, we're not responding on VMware Workstation. That's typical because it takes so much data to work that it's so much of a lag. Now you notice I don't have any virtual machines on any of these systems themselves. All the virtual machines are stored on the hypervisor, and there are I believe 13 of them. Here's Firefox here on my main screen. So we can just access the hypervisor. No, do not set as default. Access the hypervisor by just going to ESXi/, and that should bring it up. Because it's called ESXi.BITeCSystems.priv, and the search domain is automatically assumed. So you see we have that here, and I'm going to zoom in on that really quick, because that is what it looks like when you log on from a web interface. I gotta loosen this pan here. There we go. So that's basically what it looks like. I don't think I could get any closer with that, but I'm going to go ahead and click the login button so you can see what we got going on here. There you go. And yes, I logged into the hypervisor web interface using Active Directory credentials because the hypervisor itself is joined to the domain. and you'll see it's loading up here in Firefox. Now, I could load it up in Chrome, but it constantly makes Chrome crash. He's dead, Jim! And, you know, who needs that? So I don't know if you can really see on the left there. It says virtual machines, storage, and networking. There are 2 network interfaces by default in a Mac Pro Tower. I have 3 there because there's a virtual one that it doesn't really do anything, it's just there. And that's my cat. The storage device, there's one storage controller that has all 4 hard drives into it, and there are 13 virtual machines, and that we'll go through now. So let's back out real quick. Let's click on virtual machines. So I don't know if you can see that list there, but we'll make it so you can probably see it a little easier. Starting at the top, we have odpdc.bitecsystems.priv, and od-pdc, it stands for Open Directory Primary Domain Controller. And that is an Apple server that runs Open Directory. It's an Open Directory master, so it basically governs what users can and can't do on the Apple machines in the network. Directly under that is dc.bitecsystems.priv, and that is the master domain controller. Runs Active Directory, and it actually runs Windows Server 2008. And I like it like that because, you know, even though it's Windows Vista based server, it still does everything I need to do. Directly under that, you'll notice it says, well, we're going to skip a few lines. Or skip that line. We're going to go to rmtts.bitecsystems.priv. That actually runs Server 2008 R2, and it's a 64-bit machine. So what I use that for is Centrify, the mobile authentication and mobile device management. So let me zoom out so I can show my iPhone screen here at the same time. Not settings. Actually, yes, settings. If you scroll through here, General, Device Management, Centrify Identity Platform. And it manages apps, controls Wi-Fi networks. It gives me the password automatically for Wi-Fi networks, certificates, password policy, which I don't really use, but it's there anyway. And that basically connects through Centrify Cloud and also through the Centrify mobile app, which is right here. And you'll see I've got the intranet, which is hosted on Google Sites, the G Suite, which is Google Apps, and we also have all the provisioned apps here. But also, if you notice in here, we have some apps that aren't provisioned, that aren't inside that folder, like for example OpenDNS, or OpenVPN I should say, excuse me, it's right there. That's installed as soon as you log into Centrify. Remote Desktop, RD, that is installed as soon as you log into Centrify on this network. And there's other ones, but really there's no point in going through all of them. I got too many apps running here, wow. Okay, there we go. But basically, you log in using your own Active Directory username and password, and it basically will secure the phone so that way it is part of the network and follows certain group policies. Now, next down from there, we have a server, which is not really a server, but I call it a server because I guess the typical definition of a server, it is technically a server. But it runs Windows 8.1 Pro, and it's pbx.bitecsystems.priv. It runs 3CX version 14, and that's what powers all of the phones here in the center. So, down from that, let's go back up to the one we skipped there. mts1.bitecsystems.priv. That, and if you look over here, it runs Apple Mac OS 10.7 Lion. That is a very interesting machine, along with below PBX, if you can see MTS2. That is also, they're both basically the same machine, except there's like 2 different copies of it. So those are Apple-based terminal servers, and I use a program called iWrapTS. I don't know if you saw the post on Facebook last night that I made called it's not modded, it's iWrapped, and that's what I mean by that. MTS1 and MTS2 both run Mac OS 10.7, Lion, but they both have IRAP made by CodeRipple, who sadly is out of business, and that allows them to be connected to through a basic Microsoft Remote Desktop client, and I will show that in more detail next. Okay, so here you are. You're in my hand now, not on the tripod, so I apologize for any shakiness. Let's go to the desktop here, and I'll demonstrate what the IRAP server looks like. So let's just run regular old MSTSC, Microsoft Terminal Services. And the last machine I actually connected to was MTS1. So we're going to go ahead and connect to it again. That's going to take a minute. There we go. And you'll see it loads up a window that somewhat resembles Mac OS X. Not very much, but somewhat. If you look over at the G5, it's kind of similar, not exactly the same. But let's just go ahead and type in the username and password here. And there we go, there's that. So we're going to go ahead and click log on. It's going to initialize for a minute. And what this is doing is it's going to the virtual machine MTS1. It's typing in the credentials into the macOS Lion login window. Then it's going to log in, which in turn, that's going to verify against Active Directory to make sure that's an appropriate account. Then it will also verify against Open Directory to see the restrictions set for that account, and then it will log in. And there you see, on my Windows machine, I've got an Apple virtual desktop over the network. And because I've got so many different computers here with so many different screen resolutions, I constantly have to adjust the screen resolution to match the way I want it to match. Sometimes I find the right one, sometimes it's just a little off. So you can see there's little black spaces around there, but that's fine. It does what I want it to do. So you can see Finder, Safari, Firefox, Chromium. I call it Chromium because, you know, it is Google Chrome, but on PowerPC I had to install Camino, or else there'd be a big question mark on the dock on the PowerPC machines. Office 2011, System Preferences, Grab, Network Utility, Terminal, and Microsoft Remote Desktop. That's what the admin's dock looks like. So you can't pull anything out. I've locked that completely down using Open Directory standards, and I'll show that later. But also, my desktop here, let me zoom out real quick. My desktop here is actually located on my home folder in the desktop. So you can see under users, the only users there are admin and shared. I don't have a home folder on this machine. In fact, Shift Command H, my home folder, see if I can get to here, go, enclosing folder. You notice that the home folder is actually on the library $ share drive. So if I go in there, you see that all the other folders are locked down. That's domain admin, I can't get in there. See, nice little ACL says I can't get in there. I can get in there. I can't get in there, can't get in there. I can get into that one though. And see, everything basically is locked down except for my own folder, which in here you can see is the desktop folder. If I create a new folder inside the desktop folder, there it is, it appears on my desktop. And also, if we were to minimize this session here, you'll see the untitled folder also appeared on my Windows desktop, because everything is, come on, focus for me please. It won't focus, this old camera. There it goes. Everything is synchronized. So even if I if I delete this folder here, delete, yep. Now I go back to the Mac desktop, you see it disappeared, and it's no longer on the desktop either. Okay, basically that's how MTS1 and MTS2 work. If you go into System Preferences also, you can see that under Users and Groups Preferences that my account is admin and it's network account. It's a network account because obviously it's on the server, on the domain, but it's an admin because if you look under Directory Utility, let me log in to the, let me unlock System Preferences using my Active Directory password, which is another privilege I get to do. all the Macs in the network, let's go to directory utility here. Let's go open directory utility. Under Active Directory, which is the first thing on the list, you'll notice under advanced options, we are bound, of course, else this wouldn't even work. First thing I do when I bind a Mac to Active Directory is I do not force the local home directory on the startup disk, because that's just annoying. Having all the home directories appear on the startup disk itself, it just takes up way too much space and it's not synchronized. Therefore, I don't do mobile accounts either, because I think they're ridiculous. Under administrative, allow administration by BITeC Systems Domain Admins, BITeC Systems Enterprise Admins. So if any username is under that group, it will be considered an admin on the Apple computer. And I do that on all the machines, the physical ones as well. So, with that being said, also on the Open Directory environment, there are two groups. There's two work groups, an admins work group and a standard users work group. The admins work group includes domain admins and enterprise admins from Active Directory, and the standard users work groups contains domain users. And that's how I have the preferences set. So I'm actually going to log out of here. You'll see as soon as I log out, it'll just kill the session. Yep, the remote desktop services session is ended. We can close that. Now, let's go back to Firefox here. I want to show you on, here's what it looks like on the, here's what the default screen of the Mac TS1 looks like. So let's just open let's just see if we can open a new console window here. Move that over here really quick. So there we go. That's what it looks like. It looks like normal, like a Mac, but we've got it set up so that IRAP takes over the whole login environment. Now I can go in here and just log in normally, but there's no point in doing that. Now ODPDC, you can see up in the top, I want to show you some of those settings that I have enabled on Open Directory. So we're going to go to that one. Let's just open a console window here. Oh, it's got the flurry going. Answer this phone call. I'll answer that later. So we're going to open a console here, and we're going to go open a console in a new window. Okay, here we are. We have the ODPDC machine, which is our Apple Open Directory master. And you can see it has the flurry screensaver going on. So let's just go ahead and wake that up. It looks just like the MTS machines. However, there's one important difference. This runs Mountain Lion and not Lion. So we're going to go ahead and just log in here using the local administrator account. I think that's the right password. If it would just focus for once. There it goes. You notice there's a local administrator account there. We have on the dock, we have Finder, of course, then Server, which is an old copy of Server, then Workgroup Manager, which I know you guys probably have never heard of for Mac Server, but you know I had to download that separately. Then, of course, Directory Utility, which I don't ever have to go into. Firefox, System Prefs, Terminal, the Office 2011 Suite, and Remote Desktop Connection. So we're going to focus on Workgroup Manager here. And I can't log in like that because that is the local admin account. I've got to go in through Directory Administrator so we have permissions to look at the settings. Dir admin, and it remembers the password, which is nice. And there we go. Let's bring that up so we have a full screen there. Zoom out. Now, this is controlling the Open Directory environment on the Apple servers, or Apple clients. So we see there's one username on the Open Directory network, Directory Administrator, because what happens is we have in here the admins work group and the standard users work group, and then this is the temporary work group I created just called work group, which has nothing in it, but I might delete that someday. Under the admins work group, let's go over here and check our members. We have domain admins and enterprise admins, which are both pulled from BITeC Systems, because this Apple server is also joined to Active Directory naturally. So let's go right here. We'll show you that this can actually read into the domain, the Active Directory domain. So we'll switch it from the local Open Directory to Active Directory, and now you see we've got all of our users in Active Directory, including the hidden ones that don't like to show up in Active Directory, because this can read everything. I'm not authenticated to Active Directory right now. There's no real reason to be authenticated because I cannot manage any settings here, because it doesn't allow you to change things this way. But the one thing I wanted to show you is in here I can also see the groups. So if I go to domain users, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, I can see all of these users here. There's domain admins there, and basically what that does is that pulls in all of the users as part of domain admins or domain users, and that brings them here under the admins group, which under preferences for admin I've got the dock managed. I've got these applications and no other applications allowed in the dock. These ones are the only things allowed. See, I can allow the user to add other applications to the dock by ticking this merge with users dock, but I'd rather keep the docks uniform. I added my applications, the documents, and a network home folder to the dock. Now see, the thing about this is if I add an application here, I gotta be really careful, since I've got PowerPC machines here. Applications that don't work on PowerPC or that just aren't present on the older system won't show up. I could add Photo Booth, but I've only got one Mac on the network that's got a camera built in, and that will be my 2011 MacBook Pro. So I've got it pretty much configured the way I want it configured. I installed Google Chrome and I renamed it Chromium, and on the PowerPC machine I installed Camino web browser and I renamed it Chromium, so that way I could have that in the dock. So also, this Firefox here is actually Firefox on the Intel Macs, but on the old school PowerPC Macs I downloaded 10.4 Fox, which if you don't know what 10.4 Fox is, that is the Firefox version 45 kernel rewritten for PowerPC, and it runs great. Play YouTube and everything on those old machines. But I installed it on the PowerPC machines and I renamed it Firefox, and I changed the icon to look like Firefox just for, you know, performance standards, and it actually pins it to the dock now. Dock display, I can manage the dock size, the magnification, which I have all the way up, and these settings, once I save them here, they're forced on the client machines. You cannot change them on the client machines. Position on the screen is bottom, and minimize using the Genie effect. Always animate opening applications, and do not hide and show the dock. So that's the dock settings there. Other things you can customize are your application permissions. This is basically like group policy for Windows, but it controls the Macs. Classic settings, oh, those old school Mac OS 9 days. So that doesn't apply since I don't have any machines that run Tiger or below. But you can control what system folder to use for classic. Log on, you can't do that for groups. Media access, I can control what kind of optical media can be inserted in the optical drives, whether it just be CDs and CD-ROMs, DVDs, or recordable discs, and I can also tell it to require authentication as well. Mobility, don't really use it because we don't, like I said, we don't use mobile accounts. Parental controls, don't need them. We're all adults here. Now I do have OpenDNS's firewall filtering out adult websites from the network, but that's another story. System preferences, I don't have that managed on admin users, but on network users I do have the dock managed. On standard users I should say, I do have the dock managed, Finder managed, logon managed, and system preferences managed. And Finder, I have it set to use Simple Finder and only show certain things, so that way a standard user doesn't really get many privileges at all. And also on Windows, on a standard user, it's also very locked down. Logon, I don't really manage that for groups, really. I don't really do anything there. System preferences, I only have it allowed to see Bluetooth settings, mouse, keyboard, sound, and trackpad settings. So that pretty much works there. And then I am going to end up managing the printers at some point in time, because I want to have it automatically install the OfficeJet and the Bubble Jet looking, the Canon printer over there. I want to have it auto install those, but I don't have that set up yet. I will have it set up. So now that's basically what I've done on Open Directory. Oh, one more very important thing. I've got to remember exactly how I got to this, because it's interesting what I did here. There we go. So if you look under here, I did this once for the admin users and once for the standard users. So what I did is I went under details and I went to the desktop picture. What I did is I copied this BITeC Systems picture that was designed by Ann Bratton. I copied that, resized the proper resolution. I copied it to the System Library Core Services desktop pictures, wherever that folder is, and I used this menu here to force that desktop picture to always be set. If you look under here, it's under the often settings. There's once, often, and always. Once means it sets it once, and then lets the user change the settings. Often means sets whenever managed preferences are updated. User may change settings, but they will reset at the next login. And always sets and locks the settings. So often, because I can't do it in always, so what I have set here is a background dictionary type key, and the default image dictionary is under that. Image path would be library, desktop pictures, bitecsystems.jpg, which I have readable by all users, and it's placed in that folder on all Apple computers. So that way, whenever I log on to a network account, it pulls that picture as the default desktop picture. And through group policy, I've done the same thing on Windows, which is why you see it here. It's much simpler to do on Windows. Also, we have the screensaver by host, and under often, idle time is 300 seconds, which is the same thing I have it set to in Windows group policy. Main screen only is false, so that means all screens will have the screensaver. It is forced to use the flurry screensaver, and the module path is, of course, system library screensavers flurry.saver, and that forces that screensaver. Screensaver login window, always. So this is a forced preference. Require password is 1. Require password 1, integer 1 meaning true. That's all I have configured there. Under standard users, you can see that the stuff here is also locked in using this overview, but also it has the stuff I've configured separately through this menu, which is nice. I can configure home sync, I can lock down iTunes, but you know, I don't see a reason to do all that. So that's pretty much what I have locked down here. I can go ahead and just close that, and let's quit out of Workgroup Manager there. Just quit that. And you'll notice that the hard drive icon is actually, looks like it's an external drive. Really, the reason it does that is because I had the original, my Mac Pro used to be the original Apple server, which is completely whack, and I'm sure you guys could agree with that. So what I ended up doing is I ended up making a carbon copy clone of that onto my external hard drive, and then I made a clone of that onto the machine in there. It was a very long and drawn out process. I ended up having to repair a couple boot caches, and then basically I just transferred the system over. So that way I didn't have to rebuild the whole thing, because I found it being a long, tedious process to rebuild the whole thing. Same way I took the original domain controller for Active Directory, which was running on that Dell, and I just used the VMware image tool, and I made it a virtual machine on this server. It took many hours of just sitting there waiting for it to finish, but it actually works now, and that's great. I'm going to go ahead and log out of the Apple server. Right there, and we're back at the login window. I can just close this window because it stays running. And of course, VMware ESXi kicked me out because I was inactive. We can go back in there. And we'll have to plug my camera in a minute because the battery is getting low. But let's see what we have here. Under virtual machines, like I said, there are 13 virtual machines here. I'm just going to give a quick overview of the other ones. MTS2, as you already know, is macOS Lion running IRAP. WTS1, all the way through WTS4. I'm going to talk about it once because there's 4 machines that are identical. WTS1 through WTS4 all have Windows Server 2003, and I do that because it's so much more lightweight than Server 2008 or Server 2008 R2, and I can run many of those machines. Each of them all have Office 2010 installed and Photoshop, or not, excuse me, Adobe Master Collection CS6 installed. not just Photoshop, but the whole suite. Next on the list is FSSVR, which runs Ubuntu server. And basically what that does is, I believe it's once a week or every other 2 days, I can't remember what I configured it to, but the file server, which also is hosted on Active Directory, Domain Controller DC, it runs a complete backup of the library and throws it onto FSSVR. So that way if anything gets screwed up, I can always have a backup of it. And then underneath that, I did these just for fun, WTS5, and then above it WTS6. And they actually, go ahead and laugh at me, they run Windows 2000's advanced server. And basically they just are there for the same purpose that WTS 1 through 4 are there for. All they do is they're just older. And they have Office 2003. So I might show those, I'm not sure. Who knows? But anyway, we're going to pause this video so I can get plugged back into the charger and back on the tripod, because my battery says 27 minutes remaining. So we're going to stop this real quick, and I'll be right back. I want to take a moment to look at this screen setup here. So you can see my Acer Veritone L460 has 4 screens. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those look very nice. And it's a big, long, extended desktop. So, now, the next thing I want to show is the Power Mac G5, which we've really got to focus this because this is getting majorly annoying. Let me move the chair out of the way here. So I just type my username and password and I hit enter to log in. So let's move it really close here so we can see this. Come on, focus for me. There you go. So you can see that processed. Oh, do you see the background change? Yep. It changed from the login background to the desktop background. And you can see that that processed through Open Directory and Active Directory relatively fast. The desktop is synchronized like usual. And also, if you look at the dock, from left to right we have Finder, Safari, 10.4 Fox disguised as Firefox, Camino disguised as Chromium, the Office 2008 suite for PowerPC, System Preferences, Grab, Network Utility, Terminal, and an old copy of Remote Desktop Connection. And then the Applications folders. So let me zoom back out here. Now we'll lock that right there. And we will show that we cannot remove anything from the dock. It is all locked in place there. And also, this is a good time to show what WTS1 looks like, because it's interesting putting Windows on the Mac side and Mac on the Windows side. So we'll go ahead and connect like that, and I'll be right back. So we'll go ahead and connect like that. Connect. You'll see it says the default welcome screen, which if you can't read it, it says welcome to BITeC Systems. You're about to log on to a computer or device at BITeC Systems. Yes, I upgraded it from just computer to a computer or device. Please be aware that all use is being audited and reviewed, and you'll be held responsible for any misconduct. And then it has the information, the contact information. So we're going to press enter on that. And we're going to get a couple errors because the user profile does not like to work right on these older machines. And sometimes it screws up on the newer machines, but it's life. It still runs. But I did set the error message to timeout after 5 seconds, so it's much easier to work with. So right now it says loading my personal settings. And there's the first error. It's just because the file names are too long in some of the files. I cannot find the local profile, so logging on with a temporary. It doesn't matter, everything's still synchronized. It just takes a minute to come up there. And you see the desktop background is forced through Active Directory's group policy. And we've got Office 2010 here. And we've got Adobe Master Collection CS6. I just started Photoshop if you can't tell. And yes, the Master Collection CS6 will run on XP, contrary to many people's popular beliefs. There's that. It's going to open up in just a second there. Like I said, it does run a little bit slow, but that's just fine. There it goes. Must have quit the first time. But anyway, there's Photoshop CS6. Oh, it quits again. I'll have to find out what's going on with that. It's probably a system error somewhere. But anyway, let's try Audition, see if it does the same thing. I may have to go in and retune these. There's always something breaking on one of these machines. There's Audition. Will that one stay running? Yeah, it will. Oh, Photoshop has an error coming up now. Oh, they all crashed. Interesting. Alright, well, enough of that. Word. See that Word works. And of course, use recommended settings. Hit OK. Yep. Good to go. Close that out. It's so weird pressing Control-Alt-Delete on the Mac, but that's how you log off. And I'll have to look at those Windows terminal servers to see what's going on with the Adobe suite. But anyway, that works pretty well so far. So, now, let's get on to the entertainment system. So I'll be right back. Alexa, turn on VCR basement.
Okay.
You'll notice the TV comes on. It's not on the right input, but if we give it a second here, it will open the input menu and bring itself to composite 1, which is where the VCR is connected. The 5.1 receiver will also go to the TV input. And now you can see that there is the VCR's input on the TV, and that's set to TV, so the sound's set to go, and the VCR is obviously on because of the blue screen there. So I'll just take this auxiliary remote and just hit the play button on it. Turn the sound up.
Nicely done. Oh,
and there is the sound of music.
Reverend Mother, I'm so sorry. I just
VCR
couldn't
tape.
help myself.
So before I get a copyright warning, I'm going to stop that. Just unlock the pan a little bit. If you look down there on the ground, behind all that coil of wire there, and directly under that, that's where I moved the subwoofer to. It's in the back right corner now instead of the front left. I found it works a lot better back there. So that's just where I moved that to, if you guys were wondering. Alexa, turn off basement harmony hub.
Okay.
TV goes off, VCR goes off, stereo goes off. Alexa, turn on DVD basement.
Okay.
Power on. Now you notice the stereo comes on. It goes to TV because that's what it was last left on. That's the wrong input, so you see it should switch to component 1. And the stereo goes to coax input, which is the coaxial audio from the DVD recorder. I don't have a DVD in there right now. I could just make it show something on the screen. Let's see. Okay, I can't make it show something on the screen because I don't have the right remote for it. which the remote actually is in front of me there. So let's grab that. I'll just show you the setup screen. If these batteries aren't completely dead. Okay, now the batteries are dead. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the phone, my iPhone, because I'll show you the Harmony app, which I'm actually glad that all that didn't work, because now I get to show the Harmony app. Make sure I'm on my Wi-Fi and not the other Wi-Fi. You notice it says it's connecting to the upstairs Harmony hub. That's the wrong Harmony hub. So we're going to switch hubs to the basement one, which is right there. You'll see that Watch DVD is activated, so we're going to go ahead and click on that. Let's move across here. And I'm going to hit this eject button right here, so just watch. You guys see that, or was that too far away? Let me shut it back down here. And it also shows loading down there at the bottom, so you know that's the right input. No disk, so if I hit eject again, see the eject symbol there, and you heard the drive open. So let's close that back. And now I will actually go ahead, I'm going to manually shut this one off by just pressing the power button there. And because all the signals are coming from the Harmony hub, I can have my phone not just in the same room, but I can have it down the street, across the country, or across the world, and it would still be able to do this because I have the LTE connection. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Alexa, turn on Apple TV Basement.
Okay.
So there is switching inputs there. This is still saying it's starting. And there it actually opened the Apple TV and it turned the Apple TV on. The stereo moved to the optical audio input, and the TV has been moved to HDMI 1. And I can basically do anything. Now, an interesting thing about the Apple TV is I can now use my phone's remote, my phone screen right here, because that Harmony hub has Bluetooth, which talks to the Apple TV. I can basically control using my phone. I can't really play anything because I'll get copyright warnings, but that's basically what I'll show there. Let's go ahead and power that back down. I want you to notice something with the stereo. It goes back to TV before it shuts off. And the Apple TV shuts off, and then the TV shuts off. I have the stereo always go back to the TV input because of the fact that it's much easier to configure. So now the only other thing I haven't shown is the Fire TV, which I'm just going to activate that from my phone right now. So that comes on there. TV comes on. The Fire TV tells the stereo to stay on TV because it pulls the sound from the TV set itself. So we're going to go here. That's going to go to HDMI 2. And of course it's sleeping. So let me wake that up really quick. See if I can wake it up from my... Yep, I got the Bluetooth keyboard app, so let's see if we can wake it up here. Just press a bunch of buttons. See if it comes on. Okay. It actually shut down on me because I haven't used the Fire TV down here in a while, so it has shut down. So what I'm going to do is I'll have to unplug it and plug it back. It's weird that it does that. So we'll unplug it and plug it back. That's alright. So you see the Amazon logo there. Fire TV. Now we should be able to be connected here. Okay, there's another problem. The Bluetooth is not paired properly. That's why. So let me take the original Fire TV remote. No Bluetooth is paired. There we go. Now it's working. Settings, controllers and Bluetooth devices. Other Bluetooth devices. You know what? Now that I realize that, we're gonna have to, let's just redo the pairing here. Press select to confirm my pairing. Alright, so we'll repair that really quick while we're standing here. So I'm gonna go on my phone to the Harmony menu. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna edit activities. Let me zoom out so you can see what I'm doing here. We're gonna edit the Watch Fire TV. Change the Bluetooth connectivity. Ah, that's what the problem is. This was in the basement, wasn't it? Yeah. It's on the basement Harmony hub. So, that's our problem. A while ago I had actually switched the location of the Fire TV and the Fire TV stick. I moved the Fire TV down here and the Fire TV stick upstairs, but I forgot to switch the Bluetooth. So right now I'm probably dialing random buttons upstairs on the Fire TV stick. So we're going to go repair here. That's going to put the Harmony hub in Bluetooth pairing mode. Same time we're going to go add Bluetooth devices here. It's going to search. And it's going to connect. Pairing the device. Successful. So that's the other problem we have here. This actually thinks that this is a Fire TV stick down here still. I've never reset that, so I'll have to go in and reset that. That's going to be after the video though. So now we should be able to use, let's put the Fire TV remote in my pocket. Let's go back here. Let's click the home button. And there we go. It works now. So there's that. You can now move through there, watch Netflix or anything else, or we can, oh, Amazon Prime member exclusive. Let's cut that off there because I don't want to get copyright even on that. And let's go ahead and power that down. So you'll see the phone shows powering off. All that just winds down. Now, one thing I like to show is the cassette deck. So Alexa, turn on cassette basement.
Okay.
Now you notice the cassette player is already on because I don't have a way to shut it off via remote. It's designed to be plugged into a switched outlet on the stereo, but my intent is to be getting a Wemo switch for the cassette deck, the record player, and the satellite radio box. So that way they're always like that. I can turn them on and off remotely. Now the stereo moved itself to the auxiliary input. And this is the one thing I've got to check to make sure it's on the right input. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, yep, it's on the wrong input. So we're going to hit A on the editing switch. And this secondary switch doesn't matter because we're on A. If we were on C, we'd have to choose one of those four options. So now I'm actually going to use my phone. Let's zoom out real quick. I'm going to use the volume switch on my phone, which actually controls the volume on the stereo. I'll show you that up close. So I'm going to click the volume rockers on my phone, and you can see it turns up a little bit there. And now, another thing I really like about this new tape player is that I can actually, well, that's too close. Okay, I got a text here. I'll read it later. So you hit this play button here, and the tape player plays because it has a remote control function. You'll hear that walk with the beat 80s music, which I think is pretty cool. I like that.
Welcome to Run to the Beat 1.
I don't want to get a copyright infringement on this.
At 140
But another thing I like about this tape deck is
This should give you a pace of 9 to 11 minutes per mile.
it's got a pitch controller.
Please be certain that you
Turn it all the way up.
Before beginning this program. If you need more time for warm up,
Turn it down.
Stop the tape now.
We're gonna set it normal. Let's rewind this and bring it back.
Drums are now at 140 beats per minute.
So we're gonna stop the tape using my phone as the remote and just rewind it to the beginning. Okay. This is one thing. That's the one problem I have. It gets jammed when it tries to rewind. So that just requires a simple turn off and turn back on of the tape deck. That's another thing that would come in handy with the Wemo switch. I'll be able to just cut the power on that and bring it back from my phone. But now we'll play that again. So I like hearing that. I want to see if the producer is still around that made that tape. That way maybe I could get licensed to use that music for my stuff. But before I get a copyright infringement, I'll play like about 30 seconds of it.
Welcome to Run to the Beat 1. This tape is a 1-hour workout at 140 and 145 beats per minute. This should give you a pace of 9 to 11 minutes per mile, depending on your stride length. Please be certain that you are thoroughly warmed up before beginning this program. If you need more time for warm up, stop the tape now. And
Stop the tape now.
ready to go. Okay, the drums are now at 140 beats per minute. Get your stride right in step with the beat.
People used to listen to this tape on a Walkman with headphones as they walked and did exercise.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Let's move.
So that's basically what it looks like to play a tape like that. So let's just edge that volume down a tiny bit. You see I can do that all from the phone. Hit play on the tape. Turn the volume down more so you can see exactly how that works. And I'm very surprised to say that cassette tapes have quite good audio, even in 2017. So we're going to go ahead and stop the tape here. Let me zoom out on the camera here. And I don't have to even be standing in front of this to operate it. I could operate it from anywhere. So anyway, that's basically all there is, except for one more major important thing, which I never demonstrated. It's part of the basement setup here. Let's go ahead and cut this off. So, Alexa, turn off Basement Harmony Hub.
Okay.
So I showed a bit of the phone system, but now I'm going to show the rest of it. So open up my phone app and we'll call the main number for BITeC. 513-492-2153. Let's go ahead and call that and put it on speakerphone.
Thank you for calling the Broadnax Information Technology Center. Please stay on the line and someone will be with you shortly.
It rings my Astra phone, Panasonic, and the phone there on the wall.
You are at position 1 in this queue. Please wait to be
Check 1, 2.
Check 1, 2.
So that works. That's the main line. There are 4 phone lines down here. The second one would be 513-492-2148. This will ask me
BITeC
to,
Systems. Please dial your 4-digit extension and then press
so I can
pound.
then go.
Please hold while I transfer your call.
That's the basement desk line. Let's go ahead and hang up on that. The fourth line I'm not going to worry about, but the third line actually goes to fax machine. You can hear it ringing on the desk phone there, and also it rings on the fax machine I'm going to cancel it now because after the second ring it's programmed to pick up, the fax machine is programmed to answer. So we don't need to have that answer right now. However, that's basically everything I've got in the basement desk and the basement area set up. So if you guys will join me upstairs, I will be returning momentarily. One step I want to show right here, if you guys can see it, is an Apple Airport Express. And what that does, it connects into the Wi-Fi and brings it back into Ethernet, which runs into my room. So that's how I have Ethernet upstairs. So here we are at the upstairs desk, and we only have 13 minutes of tape left, so we've got to hurry this up. You can see I've got my Acer Aspire 2920 laptop running Windows 8.1. It supports 10 and actually runs it really well, but I like to have 8.1 on there. And that is not what's on the screen, that is a reflection of the window curtains. My Apple iBook G4, which is a PowerPC G4 obviously. And over there I've got another Fujitsu Lifebook T900. This one runs Windows 7 because this one is the one that's hooked into the TV. There's a VGA wire that runs all the way behind all that and hooks into the TV. So, the Ethernet switch on the wall uplinks from the cable from the Airport Express out in the hallway. And so let's just start here in the corner. I've got a TV antenna because I don't want to have cable. I think it's overrated. And that actually does not go right to the TV. It goes to the box, the box with the red light on it right there. It says A, because if I switch it to B, there's actually, you can't see it, but outside the window there's another antenna, an outdoor antenna, and that's hooked to B. From there, that splits out. The first split, it goes right to this, that goes all right to that little splitter right there on the wall. The first one goes to the VCR, which in turn goes to the TV, and the second one goes to this box that says Tableau, which is right on top of the projector. And what that does is it's a DVR unit with an Ethernet port. It's designed for rabbit ears TV, or over-the-air television is the proper term. And what it will do is it will pull that in, and you can output the signal over Ethernet, which I pick it up using my Fire TV stick, which is in the back there, or the Fire TV in the basement, or any browser using Chrome, which is why I have Chrome on all the computers, for that exact reason. So there's a Fire TV stick back there. There's also an Apple TV here. That's a Sylvania DVD VCR combo. I use the DVD player side only, but the VCR does work. But that's why I've got the 1994 Toshiba M460, I believe, VCR. And then I've got the Philips, I don't remember the model number, but it's a AM/FM, iPod dock, AUX input, CD player, MP3 CD player. And I use that for basically everything audio-wise. All the sound from all of this unit, from the TV, everything, it goes right into there. So I find that pretty nice. Also what we have is we have a unit right there that splits the sound input. Same way I've got it split downstairs, but I've got 4 different inputs on there. The first input comes from the TV, so any audio coming out of the TV goes to that, and I don't use those 2 speakers. I have a set of computer speakers on the side there, which are plugged into the headphone jack there. So also, Alexa, turn on VCR upstairs.
Okay.
There is a Harmony hub right there underneath the TV. I don't know if you can see it or not. But we're starting on the TV input, and what it's going to do is it's going to switch to channel 3 for the VCR. I don't know what tape is in there, so I might stop that before something weird. So I stopped the tape. Alexa, turn off upstairs Harmony hub.
Okay.
TV just shuts off. and that goes into eco power mode. The DVD player works the same, except it puts it on the component input, and everything goes to the AUX input on the stereo because there's only that input. Also, the computers, like I said, same principles downstairs. I'm not going to waste time logging in. Now also, I've got the projector sitting there, so if I were to tell Alexa, cancel that please. If I were to tell her to turn on VCR upstairs with projector, she would include the projector in the setup, also using the Harmony hub, but we'll do it with the DVD player. Alexa, turn on DVD upstairs with projector.
Okay.
You hear the projector beep. Stereo comes on, DVD player comes on, TV comes on. It's still on channel 3, but you will see that it switches to component AV. That takes a minute to come in there. And you already see that it's starting to show up on the wall there. It's much too bright in here because of the outside light to be watching a DVD on the projector screen, but it's on pre-stop. I've got a movie in there. And now you see it's actually down here too on the TV. The reason I have to have it on both instead of just the projector screen is because if the TV's off, that governs the sound, so there's no sound to anything if the TV's off, which is kind of annoying, but that's just kind of how it is. So that's the easiest way to set it up. The only two things that cannot be mirrored on the projector are the Apple TV and the Fire TV, because my projector does not support HDMI. So in order to do that, I have to get a series of adapters. And I've got all the inputs filled on my projector. The VGA input comes from the laptop there, which if you notice right there, let's go through this stack. The USB hub, not really important, just a bunch of USB ports with just power, no data. Underneath that is a VGA distributor. Takes the VGA signal in from that laptop over there, and it splits it to two different destinations. It also takes the sound from that system and splits it to different destinations. The first being the TV and the system here, and the second being the projector. And the two dials, one is the VGA power level and one is the audio power level, so you can turn the picture up and down or the sound up and down. Then underneath that is a 750 gigabyte hard drive I use for my Tableau DVR, and directly under that would be my Western Digital. I think it's like 111 gig or something like that, but I use that for my iBook G4 because the most recent power outage shot the hell out of the hard drive that was in there. So someday I'll be looking to replace that hard drive. So anyhow, that's pretty much it. Alexa, turn off upstairs Harmony hub.
Okay.
Power off, automatic. TV goes off, and stereo goes off. Pretty much similar. The phone on the wall that comes off the Panasonic KX4500, whatever. There's a phone back behind that thing that's off the same base as on the second desk downstairs. Behind my iBook there's another Astra 6755i. We'll move that out of the way real quick. You can see it now. Should be able to see it at least. And then also there's another Panasonic handset in my bathroom hooked to the upstairs desk. And that's pretty much it. We also have the smart lights too. Alexa, turn on master bedroom lights.
Okay.
There. The light strip in the closet. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. I don't have much tape left. I've got 4 minutes left on the tape. But they're being controlled by the Philips Hue hub right there on the wall. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching another very detailed overview of BITeC Systems and all the technology involved. And I want to tell you all to have a great day. Goodbye. In the back.